The summary panel is especially important when you care about the health of your hashtag and you want to answer questions like: how many people are using my hashtag? How many impressions are we generating? Are they growing in time, shrinking, or stable? What is the level of engagement for this hashtag? What is the sentiment around it? If the hashtag is part of a marketing campaign you're actively promoting, you can also answer some other specific questions. How much are we contributing to the hashtag reach? Is the campaign going viral? Who is getting the best results? The data for this panel, like every other panel in CyBranding hashtag intelligence, is based on 100% sampling of all tweets sent using your hashtag during the period you've been tracking. The first number you see, observed days, is the number of days for which we have data. These also include the 4 to 8 days of past data we are usually able to retrieve when first starting to track a new hashtag. If you filter your data for a specific date range, however, only those days are counted. The numbers that follow show the total activity for the hashtag, starting with the count of 44,677 total tweets, using our example hashtag during the tracking period. These tweets were sent by 3,190 total users, which measures the actual active adoption of your hashtag. But to estimate the total impact of a hashtag, we also need to estimate its reach and message repetitions. This is what we show with the 12,400,000 total potential unique impressions, which measure the audience which was directly reached by the hashtag on Twitter. To estimate this number, we sum the number of followers of the 3,190 active users of our hashtag. As we all know though, on Twitter most users don't see all the tweets that flow through their timeline all the time. The likelihood that our message gets through and sticks is much higher if it gets repeated often enough. The total power of the message is what we measure with the 184 million total potential impressions. To better explain the relationships between all these numbers, we'll use a simple example. Let's say that I'm a Twitter user and that I have 4 followers. If I send 3 tweets using our hashtag #brandchat, my activity will contribute +3 to the total tweets, +1 to the total users, +4 to the total unique impressions. And 3 times 4 equals +12 to the total impressions, which also count the repeated views. In the end, the total strength of the message can be increased by increasing the number of active users of the hashtag, their number of followers, or the frequency with which they use the hashtag. Moving to the right, the numbers that follow are the same as those we just saw, but as daily averages. The average daily tweets, daily users, daily unique potential impressions, and daily total potential impressions. The next area of the summary panel is called trend analysis. This comprises of a series of gauges to evaluate at a glance the evolution of your hashtag in time. By clicking on the relevant link, you can easily switch between a focus on the whole period for which you have data, on the last month, or on the last week. For example, by selecting last week, we compare the activity of the last 7 days to that of the previous 7 days. The first gauge shows the percentage change in the total number of impressions generated by your hashtag, while the one just below shows the percentage change in the total unique users. In other words, the first gauge shows the trend for the power of the message for your hashtag. In this example, the power increased by 44% week over week. The second one shows the trend in the adoption of the hashtag. In our example, there is an increase of 30% in the number of active users. You can always see the exact daily numbers for the tweets, users, and reach in our timeline panel. Depending on your plan, the trend analysis area could also show 2 other gauges. One is the sentiment trend, which shows the trend for the balance between positive and negative tweets for your hashtag. Please note that this is currently only computed for tweets in English. In our example, the positive sentiment actually had a decrease of 21% during the last week. The other special gauge in this area is only available if you are tracking some specific influencers that are working with you on your campaign, and allow you to measure the organic trend or the virality of the campaign itself. The global change in the total impressions we saw before considers all data, so we called it Trend with your influencers. But here you can also find a second gauge called Trend without your influencers. This second gauge only counts the organic tweets and reach, those that can't be directly traced back to your own influencers, either by their direct activity or as retweets or mentions generated by them. It is, in other words, the organic trend in the total impressions, the trend that would be there even if you were not doing any campaign. If your organic trend becomes really positive, then congratulations, you've gone viral. When you're tracking your own influencers, in addition to the organic trend, we'll also show in this summary panel a specific area called Your Influences Analysis. Here you can see two pie charts. The first one, Your Influences versus rest of the internet, compares the volume of the total impressions that can be traced back to your own influencer's activity, blue slice, to the organic ones, grey slice. The organic trend we talked about before is computed only considering the grey area. If you have more than one influencer working on your campaign, you can then go into even more detail about the volume of generated impressions, with the Your Influencers versus Your Influencers pie chart. Here you can see a drill down of the blue area from the former pie, and learn which of your influencers contributed the most, and the least, to the impressions that can be traced back to your campaign activity. The last area of this summary panel is called Average Engagement and Sentiment. Here you can find two gauges. The engagement gauge shows the average level of engagement among users using this hashtag, by measuring the percentage of all tweets that are either retweets or mentions, and are therefore engaging with other users, among the total number of tweets sent. Last but not least, the sentiment gauge shows the balance between the tweets classified as positive or negative for your hashtag. The actual number is the percentage of all non-neutral tweets that express a positive sentiment. As you probably know, the automated analysis of sentiment for free text is never 100% accurate, but by focusing on the balance, you can get a pretty good idea about the general sentiment surrounding your hashtag. Whatever the use of your hashtag, learning about its health status is very important. If this is your own campaign, you can use this information to validate your strategy, or understand that you need to improve it. If, on the other hand, you're trying to piggyback on an industry hashtag, or simply to analyze it, you can use this information to understand what kind of reach you can expect to get, and find out in time if this hashtag continues to be a viable one to spread your message, or if you should start looking elsewhere. In both cases, our Summary tab offers a lot of valuable information about the hashtags you want to master.